रेडी? पहले कुछ वर्ड नोट डाउन करेंगे। when do you, when did you, when we are, when they, when we have, when you, whenever we, when the, when we hope, when we get, when we will, whenever we have, whenever we are। ये इधर से बनाते हो विद, और ये बनता है आपका व्हेन, और ये व्हाट, और इसमें बनता है वुड। इसका जो स्ट्रक्चर है इलिप्स का हाफ होता है। आप इसको ओपन नहीं बनाएंगे इस तरह से, ये कंफ्यूजन पैदा करते हैं। दैट के साथ में और विदाउट के साथ में, तो ये आप यूज करेंगे व्हेन। आपने लिखना है व्हेन डू यू, तो व्हेन डू यू। व्हेन डिड यू, हाफ करेंगे इसको, चाहो तो डॉट भी लगा सकते हो थर्ड प्लेस पे। व्हेन वी आर, व्हेन वी, और फिर आगे आर लगा देंगे। व्हेन दे, व्हेन वी हैव का हुक भी लगा सकते हो। व्हेन यू, whenever we, when they, when the, when they हो गया। when we hope, when we get, when we will, whenever we have, हुक भी लगा सकते हो। whenever we are, लिखो क्विकली। when do you, when did you, when we are, when they, when we have, when you, whenever we, when the, when we hope, when we get, when we will, whenever we have, whenever we are। आप डिक्टेशन लिखेंगे पहले 100 की स्पीड पे, वो आपको इस वाले सेम यूआरएल पे 3p.programme.steno18.in पे मिल जाएगी आपको। SSC C&D ग्रेड टेस्ट 57 यूट्यूब @100, और दूसरे वाली @80, और एक मैं आपको सीन कंटेंट बोलूंगा लास्ट में। लिखो रेडी? कल वेडनेसडे आप सेट नंबर 8 तक सबमिट करेंगे। जिसका पुराना सेट है वो वाला सबमिट करेगा वेडनेसडे। कल के रिव्यू में से मैं नेक्स्ट सेट नंबर 9 बोल दूंगा आपको। 9:15 तक कोशिश करेंगे कल स्टार्ट हो जाए, क्योंकि काफ़ी टाइम हो जाता है इसमें, 1 घंटा लग जाता है। स्टार्ट इट। Sir, the resolution itself is very badly drafted, but it draws attention to one of the most pressing problems of this country. Full employment is an objective of every kind of economy in this world, whether capitalist, socialist, communist, or mixed economy. Therefore, it is also one of our objectives, but then we are not able to find out whether we are proceeding on the road of greater employment or greater unemployment. I am afraid that thinking on this matter is today so confused and contradictory that unless we can have a rational comprehension of the whole problem, we are not likely to make any headway. Therefore, I want to define how we should approach this problem. First of all, this is not a single problem, but two different and distinct problems. We should not confuse total unemployment with partial employment or underemployment. These are two different things that have to be dealt with in entirely different fashions, but unfortunately, when we speak of 15 or 19 million unemployed, nobody knows how many of these are really totally unemployed and how many are suffering from seasonal or partial unemployment. Total unemployment is an urban phenomenon. It is only in cities and towns you have people who have to work whatsoever. In the rural areas, it is always a case of partial unemployment or seasonal unemployment. Therefore, the first thing to be done in order to solve this is we must devise a machinery to ascertain how many are totally unemployed and how many are underemployed. So, I do suggest that every municipality in this country should maintain a register of the unemployed. Of course, we have now the labor exchanges. Unfortunately, they are not to be found everywhere, and all unemployed do not register themselves there. Therefore, I suggested that in every municipality there should be an unemployment register, and propaganda should be done among the unemployed that they should first register themselves in the municipal register. Similarly, I would suggest that in every village panchayat there should be a register where people will register themselves for underemployment, because during the harvest season there is actually shortage of labor in the villages rather than the reverse. Therefore, there would have to be different kinds of registers to show in what seasons you want to give employment and to devise suitable employment. Then secondly, we have to realize that so far as total unemployment is concerned, the only way is to develop industries and social services. The word employment is also used very loosely. In the Ambar Charkha, if a man gets 40 or 60 rupees, it is called employment. That will not do. We must define employment as giving him work which will give him living wages. Any work which does not give living wages should not be called employment. If we have to get living wages, the only way of doing it for the totally unemployed is to develop our industries and expand our social services. So far as social services are concerned, there is enormous scope for expansion. Why should you not in this country have one teacher for every 20 children? Why should we have one teacher for 40 children? Immediately, we can increase the strength of teachers by lakhs. But the real difficulty is we have to pay them, and therefore we are now caught in a dilemma. Without increase of wealth, we cannot increase the social services. Without increasing the social services, we cannot give sufficient and adequate employment for the totally unemployed in the towns. Therefore, the development of industries is essential. Without the development of industries and social services, the problem of total unemployment cannot be solved. Therefore, it is no use blaming the Planning Commission or anybody. Of course, some kind of temporary employment can be devised by such ways as asking the man to go and dig the high level and make it low level and give them some temporary wages, but that will be only waste of scarce resources, and we shall not be solving the problem of unemployment. Therefore, a faster development of industry and out of the surplus proceeds of industry, a quicker development of the social services is the only possible solution for total unemployment. For partial employment or underemployment in the villages, it has to be solved in a different way. Intensification of agriculture is bound to increase employment. For instance, wherever there is single crop, if we can introduce double crop, the total amount of labor required will be doubled. Therefore, conversion of single crop lands into double crop lands and providing irrigation and other facilities for them is one of the certain methods of solving this underemployment. Again, many traditional services such as the annual repair of irrigation tanks, canals, etc. have lapsed. We must resume them. I am sure they will give at least an average of 20 underemployed workers in the villages, further lessening the unemployment problem in the country. Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, at the outset, I must express my thanks to the honorable members on both sides of the House who have participated in the discussion on the 10th five-year plan document. Honorable members will very kindly appreciate that within the short time at my disposal, it will not be possible for me to clarify all the points which they have raised during the course of the discussion. I am going to confine my remarks to certain important aspects of the discussion, though I have taken note of almost all the points which honorable members made during the course of the discussion. At the outset, I must also say that one of the honorable members was pleased to ask what is the purpose of having this kind of a discussion 1.5 years or almost 2 years after the plan has started. I do not know whether honorable members do recollect that my predecessor, Mr. Tiwari, had circulated a note to all the members of this House, particularly about the 10th plan framework, and he expected that the honorable members will be able to send their remarks to the minister and also to the Planning Commission, so that before the draft document of the 10th plan is prepared and finalized, their views could be taken into account. 1050 प्लस वर्ड्स है, 100 की स्पीड है, पुलक्चुएशन लगभग ना के बराबर है, और इसके अंदर जो वर्ड यूज़ किया गया है, एक वर्ड है लेबर. हम जो लेबर की स्पेलिंग यूज़ करते हैं LABOUR करते हैं, वो डिपेंड करेगा स्मॉल है कैपिटल है. यहाँ पे साथ में आता है रियलाइज, उसमें भी S यूज़ करते हैं, Z यूज़ नहीं करते. ये मैं आपको सॉफ्टवेयर के हिसाब से बता रहा हूँ. दूसरा जो है कि जो MS वर्ड है वो USA का सॉफ्टवेयर है और जो हमारी इंग्लिश है वो ब्रिटेन से अफेक्टेड है, वो टोटली उसके ऊपर बेस चलती है, तो उसमें S का यूज करते हैं ना कि जेड का। कलर में भी COLOR नहीं करते, OUR करते हैं यूज। इसी तरह से फाइनलाइज्ड में भी जेड नहीं लगाते, क्या लगाते हैं? S लगाते हैं। तो जब आप टाइप करेंगे तो आप उन्हीं के साथ टाइप करेंगे ताकि सही, गलत नहीं होता वो भी, आपने जेड लगा दिया, लेकिन एक्चुअली में जो चेकिंग होगी वो एक ही तरीके से हो सकती है। और जो मैंने इसमें इंग्लिश को टाइप कराया है वो बिल्कुल कैलासन वाली कंटेंट को टाइप कराया है जो केसी के अंदर यूज किया गया। रियलाइज में हम एस यूज करें, जेड भी आता है। ऑर्गेनाइज्ड में भी हम एस यूज करते हैं, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, ठीक है। जेड का जो फॉर्मेशन है और सिंगल ओ का जो फॉर्मेशन है वो यूएसए का है, सॉफ्टवेयर जो आप MS वर्ड में देखते हो, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट लिखेंगे 80 पे। रेडी? Started. Mr. Chairman, sir, I welcome this opportunity which has been provided by this Honorable House to discuss this statement which I made the other day before the honorable members. I welcome this opportunity for two reasons. Firstly, it gives me an opportunity of removing some misgivings which are entertained by the honorable members. It will also give me at the same time an opportunity to clarify some of the details of this statement which I have made before this House. Before doing that, I would like to make a few observations, and these are that some of the honorable members have expressed views that so far as the matter of food is concerned, it has to be treated as a national problem. I do agree with those honorable members who have suggested that so far as this problem is concerned, let us have a national outlook and let us not bring politics into it, and let us try to see how we can overcome the difficulties with which we are faced, how we can make food available to our people at a reasonable price, and how we can help in the increased production of food grains and cereals and other commodities, so that we may not have to face this kind of difficulty in the future. The second thing which I would like to point out is this. I think the time has come when we should be clear in our mind that this is not because of preconceived ideas or ideologies that we had placed a certain policy before this House and before the country last year. We thought that the policy of takeover would help us in having an effective control over the surplus, so that there may be no scope for speculators on the one hand, and there may be no distortion of prices on the other hand, and it may be possible for us to provide the food grains, which are the essential commodities for the existence of our people at a reasonable price to our people, and particularly the vulnerable sections. That was the main objective or idea underlying this policy. So far as procurement is concerned, that was a procedure in order to implement that particular policy. And today, when some people say that we have reversed our policy or that we have surrendered our policy regarding food grains, I do not agree to such a view. So far as my friend Mr. Mishra is concerned, and so far as my friend Mr. Madhu Lime is concerned, they did not expect much good out of the policy which we had initiated last year, and they also did not expect any good out of the policy which we have enunciated this time, but they have not told us what is the better policy which can serve the objective which we have placed before ourselves. Now, sir, I would like to point out one thing. There is no question of surrender and there is no question of reversal in our policy. I can reiterate and emphasize that so far as this government and our party are concerned, we accept the socialist path as the proper path for the purpose of development and progress of this country. We are very clear about this. We shall pursue this path. Maybe that we may have to change the emphasis from time to time. Maybe we may have to change the direction from time to time. But we hope that the goal that we have set before ourselves will be achieved in the long run. Now the question before us is this: why did the policy which we had placed before the House and was accepted by it was not a success? I can give you a number of reasons for this. One of the main reasons why the policy had failed is this: the very honorable members who are now criticizing us had created such a psychology in the country, and on the basis of which it was not possible for us to obtain food grains from the cultivators. I would like my honorable friends to realize one thing. This was the policy placed before the country by us. Sir, it is not possible for the farmers to earn their livelihood from farming alone, as they do not have the facilities to grow crops throughout the year in every area. They remain idle for several months in a year. How can they meet their family expenses when they have no work? In order to generate employment as well as purchasing power, the government should create jobs of some kind or the other. In this connection, I would like to stress on dairy development. If the rural people get facilities like loan to buy good variety of cows and buffaloes and also some help under the centrally sponsored scheme, they will be able to produce milk and milk products. Therefore, I urge the government of India to pay adequate attention to promote dairy in different parts of the country. 80 की स्पीड है, आप सीन कंटेंट लिखेंगे. रेडी? ये टेस्ट नंबर 57 के नाम से मिलेगा आपको. 80 की स्पीड वाला लास्ट वाला, उससे पहले वाला 100 पे. अब जो कंटेंट लिखेंगे उसका मैं आपको नंबर बताऊंगा, आप उसको सॉफ्टवेयर पर टाइप कर सकते हो. सारी अपलोड है इसके अंदर 528 तक का, विद कोमा नो कोमा. और इसमें चॉइस होगी आपकी, आप नो कोमा के साथ चाहो कोमा के साथ टाइप कर लो, नो कोमा के साथ चाहो नो कोमा के साथ. जबकि ये जो कंटेंट है सारे विद कोमा अपलोड है. रेडी? Start it. I am thankful to you for having given me this opportunity long last to say a few words on the budget. Already much has been said, and I think the Finance Minister has come in for his share of congratulations as well as criticisms. So, there is not very much to say, but I should like to say a few words. The increased development expenditure and the absence of any new taxation has earned for the budget a good response even from the businessmen. I especially welcome the relief given to the middle classes by raising the exemption limit of income tax in respect of personal income. No doubt, this is some relief to the middle classes, but I would request the Finance Minister if he could to raise this exemption limit from rupees 40,000 to rupees 60,000, as that would give substantial relief to the middle classes. I am indeed glad that the Taxation Inquiry Commission has been appointed with Dr. John Mathai as the chairman, and I am sure that many of the vexed problems may be solved through this commission. At the same time, I would request the Finance Minister to put off the state duty bill for the present. Since this inquiry commission has been appointed and they may go into this question. For I feel that it is not an opportune moment to put on more taxes on the people. Already, as Mr. Gadgil has pointed out, there are so many taxes on the people. The people are overburdened by taxes and they are just trying to recover their stability. So, in regard to state duty, I would ask him to consider about it. My reason for asking it to be postponed is, as I have said, that the people are still facing economic distress, and then our government is not able to offer the amenities which other countries have, where the state duty exists, such as free compulsory education for children, free medical aid, homes for the poor and the destitute, old age pension, etc. So my humble suggestion is that this point may be considered by the Taxation Inquiry Commission. I agree that there is a brighter side of the picture, and that instead of continually harping on our poverty, we should also see the bright side. We are making increasing progress towards laying the foundation of a welfare state. With the cooperation of all and the implementation of the 5-year plan, I am sure, sir, that we should be able to lay the foundations and fulfill the dreams of India. It is indeed encouraging to know from the Finance Minister that there is a tendency of lowering food prices all over the world, and in that case, the prices in our country too would be lowered. Regarding defense, for obvious security reasons, I do not agree with my friends who say that the expenditure should be curtailed. It is not advisable to take any undue risks and slacken the defense arrangements. Indeed, defense is one of our valuable assets, although it's strange to say there seems to be adverse opinion in some quarters. I agree with what General Cariappa once said, that God and army are remembered only when there is trouble. The army consists of the most disciplined and loyal set of young men. It would not be proper to effect economy in the pay of these brave officers, as it would not be an incentive for the right type of young men to join the army, and it would become ineffective and inefficient. I believe already officers who were drawing rupees 14,000 as their pay are now getting only rupees 17,000 and about rupees 1,000 as allowance. That is, they are getting about half of what they were getting before. It is very hard for those officers on field duty to establish separate establishments for their families and for their children. And I would especially appeal to the finance minister to see that the family allowances may be restored to those officers who are on field duty. Economy in army could be affected in other ways. There is scope for more efficient operation of defense industries which process seem slow, and by purchase policy of utilizing goods and stores indigenously manufactured. Preference should be given to country-made war materials such as could be produced here and they would be cheaper than foreign-made goods. I may also suggest that the armed forces who are not on field service or under any operational commitments could be utilized for giving military training to the youths in schools and colleges, which would teach discipline and loyalty. The university authorities should make military training as part of their compulsory education, just as they have adopted social, domestic, and political sciences. The National Cadet Corps is already inculcating military training in some universities such as Bombay and Calcutta. But if military training is made compulsory for our university students, it will go a long way. ये कंटेंट 3 नंबर ट्रांसक्रिप्शन से बोला गया है. आप सीन अनसीन में से कोई भी टाइप कर सकते हो इसको, सॉरी कोमा विद कोमा में से कोई भी टाइप कर सकते हो. 80 की स्पीड है. अगर आपने इनमें से भी कोई अच्छा लिखा, सीन कंटेंट की डिक्टेशन लिखेंगे आप डिक्टेशन रूम में उधर बैठ के.